Welcome to a non-new series in this channel. We'll be doing top 10 related things in regards to Pokemon. So for this video, or for this series, we'll be starting off with an interesting topic, one in which I haven't seen anyone cover. So we'll be going over top 10 Wish Cleric Pokemon, or Wish Passers, so in the Pokemon Draft League format. So let's just get right into it. So for the rules of this list, um, or for the reasonings, pretty much every Pokemon on this list need to learn the move Wish, either naturally or via event. Um, and this is based off of standard draft league play, so just keep that in mind regarding like how Pokemon are ranked, not compared to like maybe like singles. So some of this is based like even though like draft league is predominantly singles, usually with the counterplay, uh, like people will have to like take into consideration how to beat certain sets and whatnot. So, but for this reason, I'm just gonna be focusing more so on just standard draft league. So, we're gonna be going over the viability of each Pokemon, how strong they are, their strengths and weaknesses, how their value are worked for like for their tier, and points wherever they reside in. So, now and pretty much how they perform certain other roles or sets aside, with being a cleric or a wish passer. And last one is pretty much the most important one: how effective they are as a wish passer or cleric. So, of course, this is a personal listing. So, if you like disagree with anything on the list, be sure to leave a comment saying your reasonings, or even having like your own list down on the comment section, seeing what type of Pokemon you would like rank up. So let's get right into it. So honorable mentions. We have 5 Pokemon here. They all have the move Wish. So Latias, Gardevoir, Togekiss, Audino, and Salamence in no particular order. So Salamence does learn the move Wish via event and has access to Intimidate. However, it is held back with its the fact that it can't learn any egg moves. You know, but then again, you're gonna be running a defensive Salamence most of the time, and not only that, you generally want to have Salamence as a offensive offensive Pokemon. So like Dragon Dance with Moxie or Blinding EMZ. So then you have Togekiss, which is pretty much in the same run. Like it can run Wish somewhat effectively, but the problem is like you normally want to consider running it with Air Slash or Thunder Wave, Roost. So it's kind of like it can't, and also Nasty Plot, so you can't really afford to run it. Latias is in the same boat as well. It can have access to Heal Wish and even Healing Wish, but generally speaking, its multitude of weaknesses just hold it back. Gardevoir and Audino, more specifically like their Mega versions, can actually be interesting Wish options. But of course, it really comes down to like whether or not you really want to bring Wish Gardevoir all the time. Say with Audino. Audino is probably the most effective of the group because it has access to Regenerator, but of course, like it's become somewhat passive compared to the other like 10 Pokemon we have on the list. So yeah. So let's get right into it. So, for number 10, we have Aromatisse, which is pretty much a solid Fairy type, with a base HP of 101 and a good like special attack of close of 99, good bulk overall, very slow speed, wood axe, and a good Spadef. So its ability Aroma Veil is pretty interesting because it prevents it from being disrupted from like moves like Taunt, Encore, Heal Block. So it's pretty nice in that regard. It has above average bulk and it's pretty solid, a low budget Fairy type Pokemon. So it has access to some decent coverage like Calm Mind, Thunderbolt, Flash Cannon, Energy Ball, Nasty Plot, Trick Room. So, and Aromatisse is a very good low budget Fairy type. The only problem is that it faces heavy competition with other fairies, as you'll see on this list. So it's still a good Pokemon in that regard. It's just that you pretty much know what you're gonna see coming forward. So, and not only that, it's kind of slow as well. So that's what hinders it. So for number 9 on the list, we have Lickilicky. So Lickilicky actually learns to move Wish via event, I think this is based off of Gen 3, so and you have access to Own Temple and Oblivious. Now, what Oblivious does is that it actually prevents it from being infatuated, but most of all being taunted. So you can actually go with, you can actually prevent wishes, or the opponent can't like prevent wishes from being set up from Lickilicky. And when you notice its defenses are pretty like above average or superior compared to the others. So with a good HP stat and bulk with 99, 95 respectively, it's pretty good. So it has great utility options with Body Slam, Knockoff, and great coverage options as well with Earthquake, Elemental Punches, Elemental moves like Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Earthquake, even Dragon Tail for phasing. So that's a really good like budget cleric with like options like Wish and Heal Bell. So the only thing I'll say is that it is somewhat of an event-based Pokemon, so it hinders it. So, and it has no access to no egg moves, and of course, it is somewhat passive, but it still has the coverage to hit everything. So, it's a pretty nice Pokemon for a budget. So, and the fact that it can't be taunted is pretty nice as well. So, number 8 on the list is Blissey or Chansey, depending on how you view it. But honestly, I generally prefer Blissey and Draft League compared to Chansey. It's still Chansey still is somewhat better in a sense, you know, competitively speaking, you know, because of the Violite, but you know, it's super passive, and I'd rather have Blissey in that sense. So, with excellent HP and Spadef or defense if you're Chansey, you can pretty much pass high wishes with this gal. And the thing about it is it has great coverage and support options with Thunderwave, S-Toss, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Toxic Thunder, and whatnot. So you're pretty, and not only that, you have double recovery options with Soft Boil and Wish. So that's pretty nice. You also have access to Healing Wish if you really want to be that person. So just sacrifice your own Blissey just to get a free sack. So its abilities are pretty nice with Natural Cure and Serene Grace. Natural Cure being the better of the two because it prevents it being toxic. Just it could just all it has to do is just switch out. Serene Grace is pretty nice because you know you could just you could have fun with like Flamethrower, Ice Beam, you know, having a 20% chance to burn or freeze, whatever. So the only thing about Blissey is that WoW and Chansey is that WoW they're very extremely bulky and have access to strong recovery options. They're very passive, and only that it has very little defenses. More specifically, the Blissey. So Chansey's pretty good, but again, it's somewhat far less passive because of, you know, Chansey has a significantly less a special attack compared to Blissey, and Blissey can at least utilize moves like Ice Beam, Flamethrower. So yeah, so it's still a nice Wish Passer. So in that regard, so make it on this list. So yeah. And number 7 on this list, we have Umbreon. And Umbreon, if you look at its typing and its defenses, it's pretty nice. With an HP stat of 95 and a defense of 110. And you have like a 130 special defense, so it's a good dark type, and you have access to Synchronize, which if you get toxic, it's gonna pretty much reflect it back. Well, not reflect it back, more so like the opponent will also get toxic, Thunder Wave, or burnt. So it's pretty nice in that regard. It's a strong wall and a great pivot option with access to Baton Pass as well, and it could actually have access to Taunt if it wants to do that. So, and it could be a great pivot option for most Pokemon, so because of its high defenses. So yeah, and not only that, it has Foul Play to hit physical attackers, even those that try to set up on it. Pretty nice. However, this is a double-edged sword because Umbreon, that's the only move that Umbreon can use to hit back against certain Pokemon, so of course they could be taken advantage of. So it lacks proper type coverage, and it's extremely passive in that regard. So it's a great wall and pivot option, but it's not as strong of a, like, you know, doesn't have the best coverage to hit Pokemon. It can prevent set, but it'll probably want to hightail it out there if it's facing a Pokemon that can't touch it all. So yeah. And number 6 on the list, we have Alomomola, which is pretty interesting because Alomomola has a very gigantic 165 HP stat and a good and an okay defense of 80. Its special defense is is left to be desired with 45, but at least it has access to respect a usable, like, let's say attack and speed stat as well. It's pretty fast for like one of the for Wish Cleric mon. So it has a Titanic HP and good defense stats, so you can pretty much ensure that Aloe is just be eating up offensive or physical attacks, and it could pass high wishes to its target, similar to like Blissey and Chansey. So it's a good support Pokemon with options like Scald, Knockoff, Toxic. Though Toxic, everyone knows this on the list. So, and the thing about it, what sets it apart compared to other mons, is that it actually has access to Regenerator. So you can actually pass quite effectively Alomomola and still heal yourself while like switching in and out. So that makes it a good pivot option and a good like physical wall. So, and that's pretty much what edged it out compared to the other Pokemon, because it could actually heal itself at times. It could still like Wish Protect for itself, but of course that's something that you want to do for your teammates as well. So you're passing high wishes to your opponent or to your mons as well. So that's great. The only thing I would say that are pretty much huge negatives are it's the low special defense. So you often have to like max out Spadef, like it's Spadef, just to like be able to tank with say some special moves, even like the stab ones. And it's extremely passive because of course Scald, Knockoff, and maybe Liquidation and like other options aren't going to be enough for like aren't enough for like stop Pokemon we're trying to set up on it. So it has access to Mirror Coat, so it can hit special attackers, but you know, it's like once you reveal it, it's pretty um like people can play around it easily. It's still a good pivot option, a good wish passers at best. So yeah. So at number 5 we have another water type, and that is a Vaporeon. So with an HP stat of 130, it's pretty nice since it's paired up with a good special defense of 95 and a good special attack of 110. Its defense is left to be desired, but you know, with high HP stat, it's pretty nice as well, and with solid water typing. So, um, as part of the evolution line, it has access to Baton Pass, so it could actually be a slow pivot option to like certain Pokemon. So, and it has access to some good like it's defensive or support moves like Scald, Haze as well. So you could go for the Scald burn, and you have access to water immunity with Water Absorb, so you can heal up against opposing water types. And you have of course Heal Bell, so Roar, so to prevent like Roar and like Haze. Roar and Haze specifically can prevent setup. So yeah, it's pretty nice Pokemon, especially has like high special attack stat as well. So you're gonna be dealing a good amount of damage. However, the thing about Vaporeon is that it lacks good coverage options outside of maybe Ice Beam. Of course, like Water, Ice, good in itself, but you can't beat opposing water types without using Toxic. So yeah, and not only that, it is somewhat passive, since normally you like once you figure out what the Vaporeon set is or the Cleric set is, you can pretty much deal with it with ease. So yeah. So next Pokemon on the list is Florges. So Florges is pretty interesting because Florges has a massive special defense stat, and with that massive special defense stat, it can tank any special attacker's hits, unless it's like something that's super effective or just set up a base. So it's a solid fairy type Pokemon and has access to good support options like Defog, Heal Bell, Aromatherapy. It has double recovery with Sanitas and Wish, so that's pretty nice. And not only that, Moonblast has a chance to lower the special attack of the opponent, so it could already take special hits even better in that regard. And it has viable setup with Calm Mind in that regard, so it has a very nice BSC distribution. It has a high special attack, special defense is off the charts. The only thing I'll say is that it lacks strong coverage outside of like grass and psychic coverage. Like it also has very obviously it has Moonblast, but of course like that's the only coverage you get. And not only that, you have mediocre physical defense, so its defenses and even its HP stat is pretty low in that regard. So you might want to consider getting consider the benefits of having Florges. So as we'll cover in the next fairy on the list, so and that is Sylveon. Sylveon is a great Pokemon in overall. to be at number 3 on this log on my personal rankings. Its HP stats pretty nice, 95. Defense is kind of like mediocre or below average, but its special defense is pretty nice. However, I think one of the things that separate Sylveon from like Florges, in my opinion, is the fact that it has slightly better support options, and actually, and of course, as we all know, Pixelate Hyper Voice, which powers up Hyper Voice and gives it stab. So, and not only that, you have access to great options like Baton Pass, like Light Screen, Reflect, Charm, even like moves like Fake Tears and Tickle. It's pretty nice to like be able to disrupt your opponent and just have that option to like possibly Baton Pass as well. So, and or Wish Pass in that sense. So, it's a very viable like setup option with Calm Mind. So you could pretty much have Sylveon just setting up Calm Minds and then just go for Hyper Voices, and even people. And with Pixelate, you could even like run like, let's say, like a mix, no, not a mix set, but more so like a return Sylveon set, which is kind of weird at first if you think about it, but most especially defensive mons don't want to take like a Pixelate like Hyper Voice or even return in that regards, like a Latias. But then again, you could just spam Hyper Voice in that regard, so that's one way of avoiding like, say, a potential Calm Mind war. So it has potential setup options with Calm Mind and Curse. And weirdly, it has priority with Quick Attack, so that's interesting. So, but of course, I think its main selling point is Hyper Voice, because it just does so much damage with it. So it does lack decent coverage outside of Shadow Ball, Hidden Power, and of course Hyper Voice. It does have access to Moonblast and Training Kiss, so Fairy Stab, it's nice, and it is mediocre. It has mediocre physical defense, but it's okay in that regard. So, Sylveon's a great fairy type just overall. Like having access to Calm Mind, having access to Baton Pass, and of course Pixelate Hyper Voice, where you could just power them up. And it's probably one of the strongest fairies in the game. So yeah. So our next Pokemon on the list is Jirachi. So at number 2. So overall, Jirachi, as we all know, is a Pixie or a mythical Pokemon. It has like base 100 all across the board, and it has solid stats, and Steel typing is pretty nice with Steel Psychic, and it has good stab options with Psychic, Iron Head, Arch Stamp, then Headbutt. So, and its coverage options are pretty okay with Moonblast, Thunderbolt, Meteor Mash, Fire Punch, Ice Punch. So it has great support options like Stealth Rocks, Thunder Wave, U-Turn, and well, I mentioned that twice. So, and yeah, just pretty much like I meant to put Body Slam there, so do apologize. So, it does have access to Serene Grace, so moves like Body Slam, Iron Hit, are just, instead of like it doing like having a 30% chance to flinch or paralyze, it has a 60% chance. So that helps Jirachi even further with its cleric support. So and it has a viable setup option with Calm Mind. So you have access to Side Stock to hit like Pokemon on the defensive end, so you can pretty much avoid that Calm Mind war, even though you quad resist it. So the only thing that Jirachi sort of like has going with it against it is the fact that its weaknesses to like 4 types into Fire, Ground, Dark, Ghost. Then again, Ghost isn't as common anymore, but still, like, it's very weak to like 4 types, and it has mediocre stab options and even moves at best. It still has good coverage options. Its coverage is still amazing, but while all those moves are relatively weak, if it had something like, let's say, Ice Beam, Flamethrower instead of Ice Punch, and Fire Punch, it'd be amazing. So it's a great Pokemon overall, and it could like pass her because of its HP stat. Its defenses are pretty nice, but so to make it at number 2 on the list is pretty nice. So, and our number 1 slot is Clefable. I think for those of you who know what Clefable does, it's pretty obvious. Clefable has access to 2 very solid abilities in Unaware and Magic Guard, and both of them just support Clefable and mate with amazingly. So, and of course, its solid fairy typing is just great. So, it has amazing support options with knockoff, stealth rocks, encore, heal bell, healing wish. I could like list other options, but I don't want to like be here all day. So, and of coverage options like the elemental moves, thunderbolt, ice beam, psychic, flamethrower, even like their powered up options like fire blast, also moon blast as well. It has additional healing, soft boiled as well. So not only with wish, you could just stack that with soft boil just to heal up Clefable even further. So, and the thing about Clefable is that it's not as it's pretty difficult like Pokemon to like set up on with access to Encore and Unaware. So it just halts most setup Pokemon with ease. Of course, like Pokemon with like choice band and specs might give it problems, but that's one thing. So, and it's also one of the best Calm Mind users in the game because both Magic Guard and Unaware just are amazing. Magic Guard prevents it from getting worn down by hazards or like toxic damage or burn damage, while Unaware just prevents it like it just ignores like stat like your opponent's like defense. It just ignores the opponent's stats, and that's amazing. While you could just increase your own, and your opponent still has to deal with a Clefable that's like setting up with Calm Mind. So, and Moonblast as is, it's just an amazing, very stab as is. So, I think the only thing that Clefable has going against itself is the lack is it's below it's above average bulk at best when you factor in Magic Guard and Unaware. It does have access to reliable recovery with soft boil and even heal and even like wish, but then again still Clefable is just one of those Pokemon that if you're facing one, you're gonna have to like it's a good like cleric option. So, and it's also just one of those Pokemon that could possibly sweep you. So yeah, so that's my list for top 10 cleric Pokemon. So if you want to like talk or say or comment exactly what would you change on this list or any recommendations or edits or to change for this list or how I would do or approach this how I want to approach this. So I'll be trying to do more top 10 videos in the future. So I want to see how it like people like this type of style or this type of content. So hopefully people like you guys like sort of like respond in that regard. So I do want to hear some critique of whether or not you like there's some things I should like work on and whatnot. So and also like be sure to leave it down like your own personal listings of how would you rate these Pokemon as well. Which Pokemon would you put as like number 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or whatever, or which Pokemon deserves to be a certain ranking and whatnot. So hopefully we get some more civil comments below. Then again, you just troll me, so whatever. So, anyways, I rambled long enough here. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll be trying to do more top 10 videos in the future. So, next time, see ya.